Hey, welcome members, Patreons, subs, especially subs. If you're new to my channel, make sure you hit that subscribe button. If this is the first time you're seeing a video on Kendrick, I would suggest checking out my other video, although this one is going to be much more fluid, I guess. So, before we get into it, I do have some news to share. For those of you that have been with me a long time that know what happened with Phoenix, I know I had discussed it recently on this channel. This morning was his last doctor appointment. This is the never-ending injury that he has had since July 8th of 2021. It's been hell, but today was finally his last doctor appointment. Yes. So he still can't walk 100%. The doctor said it could take up to a year. I asked him if he was ready to start driving yet. He said no. He said he's waiting for his ankle, him to be able to go like this on his foot. So, but we're there. We're there. It was the last doctor appointment. So, shoo, finally. I thought this was never going to end. But doc said the fracture looks great. His ankle looks great. All the plates look great. Everything looks great. If you're not familiar, my son was in a very bad wrestling accident on July 8th where he was wrestling, and I don't know exactly what happened, but like if his ankle's supposed to look like this, his ankle looked like that. It was twisted all the way around. So, but doc said it looks good, and now it's just wait. Second thing I want to do, I had promised you guys a full length when I was ready, not just a picture, but that I would stand up and I would show you guys my progress. And I felt like we're 3/4 there. I have a quarter way left, and I'm proud of how far I've come since June 8th of 2021. So I think I'm ready, and that's it. So this is 64 pounds gone. You guys are going to like my shirt. That's why I decided to do it, because I love my shirt. My shirt is for my haters, but I'm a little nervous. But I'm going to do this because I promised you guys I would. So 64 pounds gone. Here we are. That's it. And to my haters, there you go. There's a 99% chance that I don't give a fuck. So there you go. People were asking me to stand up. People were asking me what I look like. There you go. So 64 pounds gone. 40 more to go. But there's that. So now you guys see. That was the two things that I wanted to get out of the way before we start. Thank you, Hash Brown. Thank you. But I still got more to go. I'm not quite there yet. I still want to lose another 35, 40, and then I'll be happy. But I'm more than halfway there, so it's all that matters. Thank you, Lindsay. But Lindsay, I'm not real. I mean, I had surgery. For those of you that don't know, I went to Mexico and had surgery. June 8th. I did my research. I have no regrets. There's no issues at all, no problems at all. Everything went smooth as can be, and I'm very happy I did it. I have no regrets about it at all. So it's probably the best thing I ever did. And I did it for my own sanity, and I'm very happy that I did it, and that's it. Thank you, Lindsay. Thank you, Steffa. Surgery is just a tool. It's not easy. It's exactly right. But I feel like I'm stuck here. Like I haven't lost in a while. Like a pound or a half pound, but I haven't lost. Thank you, Sarah. It's not easy, and I have come far. But I didn't know if I was going to be ready to do that. But a lot of people have asked me to see progress and wanted to kind of see my journey. So I said, well, I haven't been taking pictures every day. So if I can't show you guys halfway if I don't stand up and show you guys halfway. So, well, more than halfway. And yeah, Patreons did not pay for it. I paid for it. Thank you very much. I believe me, I put in hard work every single day. Every day is hard work. I'm not hash brown. I have more to lose. But I am still a size 10, 12. But I really want to get back down to a 6'8" and then take it from there. Do I think I'm going to stay that low? Maybe not. But I would like to stay between an 8, but I don't know. Surgery did not hurt at all. What is wrapped up? Oh, I think it's just a bandana. Oh, on his stomach, that's my chair. You're seeing my chair. On his head is a bandana. So, but yeah, hey Kiki, but like I said, I'm very happy I did it. I had no problems with surgery. Worst part was flying back and forth. It cost me under $5,000. And again, I have no problems. Not one problem. Physically, mentally, best decision I ever made. So if anybody is looking to do it, go for it. My OBS, for some reason, keeps disconnecting. If it continually happens, I'm going to switch to a different platform. I'll use StreamYards. I don't know what the fuck's up with my internet. There's something wrong with the internet around here. It's like a common problem. How did you know to go to Mexico? I did some research. I did a lot of research. I saw an ad because I couldn't afford. I didn't qualify for insurance. I wasn't big enough. I didn't have, the history of being fat my whole life, and I didn't fit it. So I couldn't use insurance. And then I spoke to a doctor here privately. He was going to do it, but it would have been somewhere around $12,000 cash. I'm like, that's a lot of money. And then I thought, let me do some research into Mexico. Good friend of mine who moved here recently, her husband had it done. They were going to go down to Mexico and decided to just go through insurance here. He was big enough and qualified. And I didn't have any comorbid things. Like, my health is great. My doctor says I'm like the healthiest fat person they ever knew when I was heavy. So I didn't have any issues. I don't have diabetes, like nothing. So insurance wouldn't cover it. I wasn't paying $12,000. I just didn't have it. So I started researching Mexico. I found that you go with like a group. I started researching different groups. I happened to find this one. They had the sleeve on sale for like $3,500. I was like, let me do some more research. I said I wanted a board certified surgeon. They gave you 2 board-certified surgeons that you can choose from. One was in one part of Mexico. The other was in Tijuana. Something about this one guy just hit me, and I did it. I went with it. So airfare was like $750 to San Diego. They put you up in a hotel, and then they pick you up in They pick you up in San Diego. They drive you over the border. It's an interesting experience, but I have no problem. Thank you, Grateful Mom. So yeah, that was the only issue that I had at one point was high blood pressure right before I went for surgery. The day of surgery, they do all your blood work, and then they send it home with you. So I brought all my blood work to my regular doctor because everything's in Spanish. So when I got home, I'm like trying to translate. I'm looking up what didn't look normal, like, because it says normal or high. So I looked up different things, and my blood pressure was high, and there were a couple things that were high the day of surgery. My regular doctor here has been monitoring it to make sure, was it the weight gain that caused my blood pressure high and my liver enzymes off, or was it something else? And turns out it was because I gained so much weight. So there's that. And I am like I said, I'm very happy with the results. If you see this, it's not a bruise. I spilled stain. So, all right. So I just want to get that out of the way since I was wearing my favorite shirt that I just bought the other day. And let's move on. Thank you, Lynn. But again, like, now is at the point, now I really need to change my eating habits, and that sucks. Because some people say for the first year, for me, I think because of my age, it wasn't the first year. It was like the first 6 months that you can basically eat whatever you want, even though you couldn't eat a lot and still lose weight. Well, that's over. That honeymoon phase is now over. 7 months out, it's over. If I eat certain things now, I will gain weight. So I have to be very careful. And now's the time that I really need to change eating habits, which I should have been doing for the first 7 months. But I know what I have to do, and now it's just a matter of doing it. So that's where we're at. Thank you, Alicia. Did you make a candle for him? No, I did not. But I'm going to make a candle for you, saying that R.I.P. and I'm sorry you're deceased because you're dead to this chat. So that would make you deceased to me. Sorry. So now we're going to make a Matt Dillon candle. I don't eat enough. That is what caused me to gain weight in the first place, Hash Brown, was me, was me skipping meals, not eating enough, and then eating at night. And that's what caused me to gain weight in the first place. So I swore I would never do that again. And I won't. The only thing about surgery is sugary things are easy. They go down easy. Chicken, vegetables, very, very hard to get down. But protein is key. So I have protein drinks. I got to get more protein drinks. Those are key to keeping up protein, and you'll lose weight. So, hey, Tammy Lou. Tammy Lou, I thought you were green. I always thought you were green in here. I did set my goal to it. And now it's just setting my goal to the next phase, which is the last 40. Thanks, Plastic Jesus. Last 40. Honestly, if I lose 20, I'll be thrilled. But I know I can do it. It's just a matter of doing it right. And start walking again. And yeah, in weight loss surgery. Hey, Monica, in weight loss surgery, once you have the sleeve, I don't know about bypass surgery, but with the sleeve, is that you have to drink protein. They don't care if you eat vegetables. They don't care if you eat anything. As long as you have, I think it's 100 grams of protein a day, which is really, really hard. So I try to eat roast beef and I try to eat things, but you can only eat a little at a time. I got to stay away from bread. I haven't yet. It's bad, bad, bad. But thank you, Ruby. I have a band. Oh, you have a band? I cannot eat raw vegetables and fruit, but I can eat ice cream. Yeah, for some reason, sugar just flows down. Yeah, I thought you were green. I was like, Tammy Lou should be green. And hey, Marcy. Yeah, I hate yoga. I fucking hate exercise. I am not going to lie. I'm the first to admit it. I fucking hate exercise. But everybody told me I'm not going to get rid of flab if I don't exercise. So I have to learn to like it in my 50s. I didn't like it in my 20s, but I have to learn to like it in my 50s. So one of the other Patreons, too, Steffa, has a band. The only choice I had was the sleeve or band. I was told from multiple doctors I'm not heavy enough to get the the gastric bypass. Don't do it. Just get the sleeve. It's much safer. So I said, okay. They said the bypass is more for people that are in excess of 100 pounds overweight and have a history of their whole life and so on and so forth. So there's that. And diet soda, definite no. Cannot drink it. I could drink regular soda, but I can't drink diet soda. Sugar just goes right through you. So, this buffering. Was it buffering? It was buffering on my end. I did freeze. That's what I thought. All right. I don't know. Trying to think if I should. Well, let me try to get through this. I don't want to change it yet. Let me try to get through this. Thank you, Labs. All right, so let's get into the case. I don't know what's up with my internet, but like I said, there's been a lot of complaints lately about our internet. There's something going on, and it's worldwide. It's nationwide. So I don't know if anyone else has, I can't even say it because some hater will run with it and probably call them. Someone like fucking Investigator 911. All right, so I won't say what kind of internet I have, but I know they're Midwest. Anyone in the Midwest, odds are you probably have the same internet as I do. Yeah, it's buffering a few times. Damn it. Yeah, because I'm watching through YouTube. Like, I'm watching myself through YouTube, so I can see when it's buffering. It's so annoying. Let me see. I can kind of watch it on here. And maybe let you guys know when it drops. But, all right, so let's get into it. Hold on, let me get my notes. All right. So I started, today we're going to talk about, I have a new theory in this case. I really do. It hit me when I was researching it. And I was like, oh my God. Why didn't I think of this and why haven't I heard this? I'm going to get to that after. For those of you that heard my stream the other day, some of this is going to be a repeat, but as I said, I wanted to really get the full story out there, and I said I was going to do it, in like chronological order so everyone could follow, and that's what I did. Oh, you haven't heard about it, Lynn? So today's a good day for you. So Kendrick Johnson, think about parents' worst nightmare. You're expecting your kid to come home from school. You haven't heard anything. It's 7 o'clock, 8 o'clock. You know your kid, he's 17 years old. For the last 15 years, 10 years, whatever, he tells you, I'll be home at 3, he's home at 3. If he's not going to be home, he'll call. If he has a game, he'll let you know. This is a middle-class neighborhood, more black than white, but definitely run by white society. And I have a feeling, as much interest as there is in this case, I really truly believe that the interest or the wherewithal is not there because it's a black male. When black males go missing, nobody cares. When black males get murdered, nobody cares. And unfortunately, that's our society today. And this was 2013. It seemed like a very small percentage of people were protesting, even though the story was talked about all over the place. There's so many, I want to say, racial tensions in the community, in the world. And if you look up statistics, blacks statistically have way less views and way less, media attention than whites do. When it comes to missing, a blonde hair, blue-eyed, dark hair, blue-eyed, white, young, good-looking female will get 10 times more attention than the hottest black woman you've ever seen. Why? That's our society. So the only people that can change that are us. We're the only ones that can change it. So on January 10th of 2013, Kendrick Johnson never came home. That was his parents' worst nightmare. They called frantically, they called family, they called friends, they called anyone that could have possibly seen Kendrick. Nothing. Finally, his mother called 911 to report him missing. Hold on. I have that. Can't even pull 100 without mentioning, I think this is it.
They had seen Kendrick.
Nope.
His mother called.
That's a video I was watching. Shit. Alright. Maybe I don't have a recorder. Alright, so I don't got a recorder. We are a mixed family, Latino and black, so it hits home. Exactly. It's crazy. So, there was a 911 call. I don't know what I did with it, but there was a 911 call where she reported him missing. Both Jackie and Kenneth said that by midnight, they just knew that their son had passed away. The father, Kenneth, had said that he just felt it in his heart. He just knew that his son had passed away. I don't know personally if I'd be that morbid and automatically think it or if he really did feel it. But according to him, he felt it. Oh, hold on. I forgot to... Bear with me. And these are the problems when you go live. There you go. All right. Hang on. Hang on. All right, there we go. Sorry, guys. All right, parents' instinct. I know, but they knew their son had passed away by that time. Since school was the last place that he was seen alive, and the school bus driver said that he had not dropped him off, actually never saw him in the afternoon that day because he never made it onto the bus. So the next morning, his mom and his sister went to the high school to try to get answers. They were there in the morning, 8 a.m. They wanted to find out what was going on. And so while his mom is physically at the school is when students discovered his body. Someone calls 911 to let the police know they have a dead body. Kendrick's sister, Kenyatta, mind you, all of the parents named all of their brothers and sisters KJ. They all had the exact same initials. I don't know why, but they did. So someone shows Kenyatta a picture of a black and white shoe that asks her if it belonged to Kendrick. She said yes. Now imagine if this was your child. You're at the school. They find out there's a dead body. Somebody, and your son never came home. Someone asks your daughter if this was his sneaker. Tell me you're not going to lose your mind. Of course you're going to lose your mind. They would not allow the mom or her to go see if that was her son. They already knew it was her son. He played football. So someone calls 911. So here we are the next day. This is on January 11th. The body's been sitting at this point for about 18 hours. Before the body is even moved to the morgue or an autopsy is performed, the sheriff comes out and says there was no foul play and that it was just an accident. How can you make that determination before an autopsy is done, before their forensics are done? Now, granted, this was 2013, so it is a little different than what it is now, but this was 2013. So you still can't make that kind of determination. So according to the sheriff's office, as determined before an autopsy is performed, Kendrick was reaching into the mat, couldn't reach his shoe, fell into the hole and couldn't get out. All right, let me tell you why that's absolutely impossible. Hold on. Okay. So the police said that he got stuck. Jones said Johnson presumably reached down into the center rolled mat with one arm stretched out. Unable to reach his shoe, he continued to burrow his way into the mat's center, where, according to Jones, he was unable to free himself and suffocated. The official cause of death is positional asphyxia, which is complete fabrication. An athletic shoe that Johnson shared with another student were in the rolled mat. All right. So that's how they said he did it. They're saying his positioning inside the mat made it that he couldn't get free. Now remember this, though. He allegedly fell in. Okay? They're saying he fell in. And arms, your shoulders, well, I'll get to that. Let me get to that after. I don't want to jump too far ahead because I have my notes all mapped out. So that's physically impossible, though. You wouldn't do that. Logic alone tells you wouldn't do that. You would not dive in when the mat is taller than you are. That there's just no logic in it. You lift the damn mat up and you can grab your shoe. The mat was also belted on both ends. It was strapped on both ends. So it's going to be a little tighter where the strap is. So he would have had to pass the strap with shoulders that are much wider than the opening of the hole. Yeah, I'm going to buy that one. So the original autopsy showed that the original cause of death was positional asphyxia. Kendrick's family and friends and neighbors and everybody decided that they're not buying it. And they decided to hold a rally outside the courthouse. They wanted answers, and honestly, who the hell can blame them? They demanded that the sheriff did not move his body until they saw their child. And at this point, they still hadn't identified him. So all of these hours, they still didn't know if that was definitively their son and if they could identify him. So now, to me, being that they would not allow either one of them to identify their own son, even though they knew it was him, that to me is a red flag. Why not? What are you hiding? Let them see him. They wouldn't. 9.5 hours later, Kenneth is asked to go down to the crime lab. Kendrick's dad stated that he felt like the morgue was extremely warm. And after you die, you go into a cold lab. Like you see it in shows. It comes out. There's like dry ice looking stuff. It's super, super, super cold. Well, the father said when they opened it, a burst of warm air came out. At the time, he didn't understand why. He figured that it was because he was nervous. He was all, hyped up. He was upset because his son was dead. So that's why he thought he felt the warm air. He thought it was coming from himself. He didn't realize that something's wrong, which we're going to get into after. So the cold locker that Kendrick was in, the key word being cold, was very warm. It was like burst of hot air came out. Kenneth notes that the second he saw Kendrick, he knew something happened to his son and that he didn't just suffocate. He said that one side of Kendrick's face was much more swollen than the other. And in my opinion, that was very visible. The family knew something was very wrong and rallied at the courthouse for months and months trying to get justice and answers for Kendrick. Trigger warning, I'm going to show this face. I'm going to get to all that, Lynn. Trigger warning. Okay, you can see visibly that this wasn't somebody that had just been upside down. Like, you can visibly see his lip is cut. This eye is much more swollen. That wouldn't happen from being upside down. That is in Georgia. This happened in Georgia. Okay. Yeah, his lip is all busted out. So they rallied at the courthouse for months and months and months. They ended up getting arrested. And all they want to do is just get justice and answers. They really want more answers than justice. They just want answers. And I can't blame them as a parent. So they didn't want local authorities handling it because everything seemed off. Everything seemed shady. They wanted real answers from the Department of Justice. Honestly, I can't blame them. When they moved Kendrick's body from the mats, there was a pool of blood underneath his head, which would make sense if someone's upside down. There would be a pool of blood because I think hanging upside down, it's going to eventually come out, maybe. But the pool of blood underneath his head. However, the shoes that went in after him were perfectly clean. Now, not heels on the ground. Not my three healers. Heels in the air has videos on this from from 8 years ago. I guess they changed their name. But she or he is an avid believer that it was an accident. She's on the side of the police. The interesting part of this, though, that hit me, if you're faced upside down and you're reaching in to get sneakers, that would mean that sneakers are beneath you. In a small space, you have two sneakers that are beneath you. So if the sneakers are beneath you and the whole edge of the mat has blood on it, there's no possible way that blood could bypass the sneakers and get on the outside of the mat. I believe I have a picture of it. I think. No. No. I don't have one here, but there's blood on the whole outside of the ring of the mat. There's no way that that blood could get there if he was reaching in for a sneaker, because the sneaker would have blood on it and the sneakers had none. The sneakers that were in the mat with him had none. So the gym mats are 6 feet tall and had straps on each side of them, so they wouldn't open. Kendrick was 5'10" with a shoulder width of 19 inches. The mats had an opening of 14 inches. Again, and had straps on each end. So even with his arms up, even if you put both arms up, you're not taking off 2.5 inches of each side. It's just not going to happen. You just can't do it. And remember, each side of the mat had straps on it, so it can't be stretched out. So now let's go backwards. On January 11th, the Sheriff's Department is called. 5 hours after they discover a body is when they call a coroner. Now, that's actually illegal in Georgia. Georgia law states that you must call the second a dead body is found, not 5 hours later. So it makes you think, well, what were they doing? Once the coroner got there, he determined that the body had been moved and that the crime scene had been compromised. 1, why would they wait 5 hours? 2, what were they doing? And the Sheriff's Department, now explain this one. This one is where my new theory came in. The Sheriff's Department unrolled the mat with Kendrick in it and then re-rolled the mat with him in it. Why the fuck would they do that? Their excuse was to get photographs. 6 hours. Now, from the research I did last night and this morning, it was 5 hours. Why would they do that? Their excuse was to get photographs. Why would you unroll a body and then roll it back up? Why? Why roll it back up? There's only one reason why you would roll it back up, in my opinion. Hey, Pine Mountain, in my opinion, you would roll it back up, not for pictures, but because the original position was no good, or my theory, which I'll get to shortly. So 3 pairs of sneakers stood out. The pair that was Kendrick's, the pair that looked like it had blood on it, which I'll show you. Hold on. Okay. That is the sneaker that they found. It had an orange shoelace. That really does look like blood. They tested it. It wasn't Kendrick's, so they decided, okay, we don't need to bring this into the crime scene simply because it's not Kendrick's blood, so we don't really give a shit whose blood it is. So they left it. They never took it. This is a crime scene. They never took it. Okay. So then Kendrick had 2 pairs of shoes, his gym shoes and his regular sneakers. His regular sneakers were found. They were thrown in the mat behind him. Personally, I think that could have been done by the police when they rolled him back up. They also found a Hollister sweatshirt with what appeared to be blood stains. And that is that. They found that in the gym. And I made the red circles. There were obvious stains on there. Because it wasn't Kendrick's blood, they threw him out. They said it didn't matter. It wasn't part of the crime scene. It didn't mean anything. It just doesn't matter. Okay. So they let that go. Why would they not take everything from the crime scene? I totally agree. Think about crime scenes when we watch them. Think about how they take everything. The Scott Peterson's house, Chris Watts' house, they took everything. They couldn't take enough stuff. Even if you go back to John Wayne Gacy, way before DNA testing, way before anything, John Wayne Gacy, they took everything. That's what you do. Well, if it didn't have Kendrick's blood on it, they obviously didn't care whose blood it was or who it belonged to. They never even tried to search for it, and they just left it. Then they look at the walls. And that is on your high school gym wall. They knew it was blood. They said it was blood, but they didn't know. I mean, that's dirty, but they did not know where the blood was coming from. So they tested it. Once they tested it, it turns out that it was blood, but because it wasn't Kendrick's, exactly, could have been the murderer's blood. But because it wasn't Kendrick's, they said it must be an old blood stain, so therefore they didn't need to test it. Okay. Now, it also had 6 impact marks. Now, if this is your kid's school, think about this. This is your kid's school, And they're trying to say that's old blood? Do they not have janitors? Do they not have people that clean the school? I find that hard to believe, because I can't imagine that any school is going to allow this to stay on their walls when you have janitors that clean the schools every day. So exactly. And this is a very well respected area. It's not a poor area by any means. So yeah, no, they tested it just for Kendrick's blood. 6 impact points, but nobody ever noticed it before. So it's old blood. Yeah. But because it wasn't Kendrick's, it didn't matter. They left it and that was it. So now let's move on to the cameras that may have caught all this. 4 cameras in place. I think my FedEx is here. 4 cameras in place. You have this camera that's facing the gym. You have the body here. You have entrance, basketball courts, camera here, camera here, camera here, camera here. This camera is looking directly at where the body was found. Directly there. So I did get clarification that the lights were on from morning until night. Every time there was movement, they would turn on the lights. But it started when school opened and went until nighttime. Whether it worked overnight or not, I'm not exactly sure. But anytime there's movement, cameras were detected. Okay, so the cameras worked 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Camera 2, all the way up to 11, off 11 and 12, 1 through 5. Off 11 and 12, and at 12. Cameras, that's where the cameras are working. Cameras were visibly off between 12 and 1. Why were the cameras off between 12 and 1? Don't know. There is a there's a picture of Kendrick at 109, but there's a 10-minute piece missing. I personally, and it's just an opinion, but I personally think that video was spliced together. And that's where some of this came from. That the 109 really isn't a 109. I think it's a 1209. And it was spliced together to look like 109. That's my own personal feeling. Yeah, I'm going to get to all that. Yeah. So it is on camera that 3 men walked into the gym. And they're not named. I couldn't find their names or who it is. But 3 men on camera walked into the gym 3 minutes after Kendrick did. You can see the camera recording allegedly at 109. And it's the last photo of Kendrick alive. I keep saying Kendrick alive. 109:47. There's his yellow backpack. This is the last camera shot. So again, I really think, and this isn't my theory, but I really think, hey, Sylvana, while I think of it, I didn't come back to Discord. I forgot to check it, and I saw you guys, a couple of you guys were in there and left, and I see that you were there for a couple of days just sitting in the room, so come back. I didn't want to forget. I haven't seen you. So I just thought of that question. Oh, and did they not let his parents see the body until the police? No, they wouldn't let him see the body at all. It took them till he was at the coroner. But they still should have let him identify him. I mean, if it was him, imagine if it was your kid. So that was the last picture anyone has of Kendrick alive. School cannot explain why the cameras were off between 11:15 and 1. Tell me how no one saw him go on the mats. Kendrick has been going to this school for 2 years, a year and a half. He knows the ropes. So I would assume that he knew the mats and that he could just lift it over. Because the sheriff ruled this as accidental, all investigation's going to stop. So why is it the sheriff's department called it off so early? That remains unknown today. So his autopsy report, hold on, I got to pull it up over here. Hold on. Nope. I keep pulling up the wrong one. There we go. All right. So a descendant is a 17-year-old black teenage male who was found deceased upside down in the central hole of a rolled-up gym mat, which was stored standing on and in a vertical position in the gym of his high school. Per investigative reports, the descendant man was manned via video cameras entering the gym alone on the afternoon of 1/10/13. The descendant was reported missing by his family the night/early morning of 1/10 to 1/11. The descendant was found the morning of 1/11/13 by students walking on top of the rolled mats. Law enforcement investigative findings, crime scene investigator findings, report coroner findings, witness statements, and scene photographs are received, reviewed, and discussed. The finding at autopsy is a well-developed and well-nourished black teenage male with congestive decomposition, changes of the head, neck, torso, and upper extremities. No significant natural disease process or injuries are identified. Let me repeat that. No significant natural disease process or injuries are identified. No natural injuries are identified. Well, if someone's hanging upside down, you would have injuries. Just saying. Analysis of postpartum liver for drug screen testing is negative for cocaine metabolites, and common opioids. Analysis of postmortem liver for drug confirmation testing is negative, a comprehensive drug screen. Given the complete autopsy, including toxicology and histology, the scene photographs, the scene forensic testing, the law enforcement investigative findings, including crime scene investigator report and witness statements, and the coroner's findings, it is my opinion the cause of death in this case is positional asphyxia and the manner of death is an accident. Only those items discussed in the results above were analyzed for this report. The above represents the interpretations, opinions of the undersigned analyst. Evidence analyzed in this report will be returned to the submitting agency. Biological evidence, body fluids, and tissues, and fire debris extracts will be destroyed after 1 year. This report may not be reproduced except in full without written permission of the laboratory. Technical notes and data supporting the conclusions and findings in this report are maintained with the laboratory. Case may contain evidence. Now, the key out of this is that One, they said the organs would remain for a year. But more importantly, he's basing this on opinion. Coroners cannot base an analysis on opinion. That's why they're pathologists. That's why they're coroners, because they're factual. They're scientists. This is factual. You're basing your opinion on witness testimony? What does his body say? Since when do coroners and scientists base things on what witnesses say? I've never heard of that in my entire life. In my life. CNN did a deep dive on the camera thing. They had a professional analysis. And what was the conclusion? All right. Back to the notes. So the parents did not like their report. Now, mind you, this is all in the first couple weeks. So remember that they said that the organs would be in there for at least a year. Well, 6 months after he died, the parents weren't happy and they decided to hire their own pathologist. He was a guy named Dr. William Anderson or Bill Anderson out of Florida. I happen to pull up his resume. He's from the forensic panel. He has so many different successes. He's on the American Board of Pathology, clinical pathology. His experience is forensic dimensions in Orlando, Central Florida Tissue Bank, Department of Professional Regulation. He's written, he's gone to college, he speaks, he's a keynote. Like, his list is 7 pages long. No joke. His credentials are 7 pages long. So basically, this guy is no joke. This guy isn't Joe Schmo doctor. Like, they hired the best of the best. So he turns around and let me pull up my notes again. They get in June of 2013, again, it's only 6 months later, they decide that they're going to exhume the body. First thing Bill noticed from the autopsy report and the body was that the lungs, the finding in the lungs. This is definitely noteworthy. So in doing some research, cases of true positional asphyxia, getting trapped in something, not able to breathe, a horrible way to die, by the way. You're struggling to breathe and you can't. So your body's going through overtime. It's working in overtime. It's trying to figure out how it's going to breathe. And because of this, your lungs fill up with fluid. Your heart stops working, or your heart's having, really to pump 10 times harder. Your lungs fill up with fluid, which is why you cannot breathe, and that's how you suffocate. So once it starts filling up, you start to fail, your heart starts to fail. The fluid is what causes you to suffocate because you can't breathe and you have no air going in and out of the lungs. So what happens when something fills up with air? Something fills up with water or any kind of fluid. Think of a water balloon. If I blow up a water balloon with air, it's going to be really light. If I blow up a water balloon with water, it's going to be much heavier. So because of this, there's no way that his lungs would have been the same as any other normal person. And that's what was noted in his original autopsy. And nobody caught this. Like, nobody second questioned it until Bill had pointed out that in order to have positional asphyxia, you need 2 things. You need 1, the presence of fluid in the lungs, and the weight of the lungs. So Kendrick's lungs were, I think it was 240 or 260. The normal lungs of a 17-year-old boy would weigh between 250 and 280 grams. In cases of positional asphyxia, I know I'm saying it wrong, Because the lungs have filled up with fluid, the lungs weigh 750 to 840 grams. According to the guy's own document, the coroner's own document, his lungs were fine. And okay. So a layered dissection of the anterior neck is performed. Examination of the soft tissue of the neck, including the strap muscles, the large vessels, reveals no abnormalities. The hyoid bone and cartilages are intact. The larynx is clear. The lingual mucosa is intact. The underlying musculature is devoid of hemorrhage. Respiratory. The right and left lungs weigh 260 and 240 grams respectively. The upper and lower airways are free of debris and foreign material. The surface mucosa is without focal lesion. The pleural surfaces are smooth. The lungs are normally formed. The of both lungs is without obvious consolidation of focal lesions. The pulmonary arteries are free of thrombi or emboli. So it is absolutely impossible to have a positional asphyxia where he died from that as an accident if his lungs were free and clear. Granted, coroners, lab professionals, pathologists are human. Everybody can make a mistake. Could this have been a mistake? Absolutely. Could this have been an obvious mistake? Absolutely. But 9 years later, somebody should have fixed it. So Dr. Anderson then goes to look at the lungs himself. Is something shady here? That's when he discovers there's no organs. There's not even a bag. There's nothing. Now, mind you, this is 6 months later. The morgue already said that they were going to hold on to them for a year. That by law, they have to hold on to them for a year. 6 months later, the organs are gone. Remember when the father went to identify the body in the heat? Yeah, that's where the organs went. They took it. There was a lawsuit that inspired. The family was suing the morgue. The morgue said we did nothing wrong according to Georgia law. It was unethical, but legally they didn't do anything wrong. They filled his body up with newspaper. When Dr. Anderson went to open it up, he found newspaper. They stuffed his body with newspaper, but they didn't do anything wrong. Imagine if that was your kid. Think about it. So he didn't have any organs to go by. Every organ from the top of his head all the way down to his pelvic was gone. He was nothing but skin. So there was not much they could do. He didn't have anything. So he decided, all right, let me work with what I have. I'm a good enough pathologist that I can look at other things. So, and also I don't want to, in case people didn't know, as I stated the other day, in a traditional autopsy, when organs are taken out, they're placed in bags, they're moved where they can do whatever they have to do or look whatever they're looking for, testing, whatever they do, and then they place it back in the body. Honestly, I don't know if they place it in the bags back in the body or if they realign your body. I don't know. But I do know that once they're done, they place it back in the body. But yeah, every organ from his top to his bottom was gone. So when the state was questioned, they denied any responsibility and said the organs were removed from Kendrick's body, placed in a bag, and the body was released to the funeral home. We know that's not true because when Kenneth went to the crime lab to identify his son, he said that it was unusually warm, which is what you need when selling organs. So Georgia determined in a lawsuit, funeral home broke no state laws, even though it was considered not best practice. So the pathologist, Bill Anderson, is left using his expertise and what's left of the body. He did determine immediately that there were hemorrhage marks on his chest and on his face. He noticed bleeding with his jaw. With that, he looked for what could have caused it. He said that, I'm going to say this wrong, carotid sinus being pressed on, which is part of the throat. Now, what's interesting about this, the carotid sinus, most normal people are not going to know where that pressure point is, but you know who does? Wrestlers. And I know this for a fact. Wrestlers know exactly where that point is so they don't kill somebody while they are wrestling. Or, you know, if you go for the neck or you do something accidentally. Both Brian and Brendan Bell were wrestlers. So I did find that interesting. Yeah, a wrestler's taught to, this is in my notes, I jumped ahead, but a wrestler's taught not to stay away from the neck for that reason. So looking at this, Dr. Anderson determined that there was actually blunt force trauma to this area that caused Kendrick's death, because it was consistent, and it was consistent, he stated. Because he had no fluid in the lungs and his lungs were normal capacity, Dr. Anderson also determined that Kendrick was dead when he was placed in the gym mat. This is where my theory comes in. But actually, let me wait, because I have to give you more of a background. So the feds finally decide to do a formal investigation. Students are subpoenaed, and that's when Brian and Brendan got named. A student told the feds that Brian and Kendrick had a fight on a school bus, and then they had a fight because they had a fight, I don't know what it was over. They were sitting next to each other, but they had this fight, and a lot of people on the bus confirmed the story. Kendrick pushed him, he got mad, he hit him back or something. Kendrick was actually the winner of the fight per se and made Brian look dumb. So they believe that's what caused this. Allegedly, witness statements say that Brian's dad, who's an FBI agent, which is this guy, he's an FBI agent, and allegedly it was a fight, physical altercation. Yes, there was a third autopsy. That he went over to Kendrick and said, the fight wasn't fair. You should come over to our house so you guys can continue the fight. Okay. Here's where my theory comes in. Oh, wait. I got to tell you the other. Then there were also witnesses that say that they saw that this guy, the FBI agent, was tampering with witnesses. And I'm going to continue that story after I tell you my theory. But that he was messing with witnesses. Witnesses ended up scared. One girl said that he would stay outside their job. And he would literally, watch her. This caused the feds to really step it up. But before I do that, when I started researching this, it didn't hit me the other day, but it hit me today. What if, okay? You hear about the fight. Now, I had a wonderful father, but I had friends that had fathers like this, die-hard sports dads. And you were not going to get stood up by a black guy. You were not going to, not stood up in a dating sense, stood up like they're going to beat you. In an area like they live in, where white rule, an athlete being laughed at, a white athlete being laughed at because a black kid was above him, because a black kid was better than him, because a black kid may have dated his girlfriend or was talking to his girlfriend or something, and he embarrassed you on a school bus, This is a recipe for death. Shown up, thank you. Then it hit me like a ton of bricks. Everybody to date believes that Kendrick was killed in the gym. What if Kendrick wasn't killed in the gym? The video cameras show that Kendrick was on camera and disappeared. You don't see him anywhere. You don't see him leave. You don't see it nowhere. Which tells me the cameras were altered. And there's time frame that they made it between 12 and 1, but it's not between 12 and 1. Technically, all 4 of them probably went out between 1:30 and 2:30 or something like that. I do not doubt for 1 second that this man right here, was involved in killing Kendrick. And I say that based on all witness testimony. I'm allowed to have an opinion. But I don't think he died in that gym. I think he was brought to the gym later. I think someone, not many, but someone may have known, and that's why they unrolled him or rolled him back up. His sneakers were tossed in. They never tested his blood. They never tested his son's blood. Of all the students that go to this school, hundreds of students that go to this school, Brendan, Brian, and the father lawyered up immediately, which is not surprising, but lawyered up immediately and would not interview, would not talk to anybody. Now, that is their right. But why did they lawyer up? Okay, Dad's an FBI agent, so Dad could go down there with them. Dad could talk to them. But when I really started researching, I started thinking, I bet he wasn't killed in the gym. Those cameras work from morning till night. Well, what about overnight? Can anyone sneak in the gym? Can anyone see it? Because I think the cameras were snipped when he was leaving. That's when I think they snipped the cameras. I think they saw him get his sneakers and he left. And somewhere outside, he maybe got in the car with them, something. But I really believe that he was taken away from the school. He was killed and he was brought to the mat. And that was the perfect cover-up. Because again, how did nobody see it? How did nobody, it just didn't make sense to me. So that's a theory that I personally am going to explore more and see if I can find anything, but unfortunately I haven't heard this anywhere. Everybody's assuming he died at the gym. He could have had a fight at the gym, or if that blood really isn't his, well, where's his blood? Where's his blood then? Did they wipe it? Did they just put up somebody's blood to cover his blood? I don't know. But I really lean towards the fact that he didn't die at the school. And the camera video, it's not really between 12 and 1. That's just where they snipped it and spliced it together, which is where the 5-hour delay to the coroner came from, because they needed to, make sure everything was fine. Who knows who's friends with who? You would think somebody would talk. Okay. The DA, who really seemed like they were in Kendrick's favor, a white DA, by the way, really seemed like they were in Kendrick's favor, ended up retiring early. A lot of people in the town said that he was scared out of his job. Somebody was threatening him. There was enough evidence for the county and the U.S. Marshals to get involved. And a student told the feds that Brian and... Oh, wait, I'm way ahead there. Hold on. All right. So they ended up charging... All this led to a federal investigation and raid into Brian and Brendan's house and his house. Meanwhile, they're the only two that lawyered up, would not interview, and would not speak to anyone. They ended up charging the father with obstruction of justice. Now, I don't know if you guys know the law at all, but getting a federal warrant to go into raid an FBI agent's house, they had substantial proof in order to do that. So there is definitely something going on, but they checked phones, they checked everything. You're a good FBI agent, you know how to cover all your tracks. You do. You're going to cover every fucking track. You're going to get rid of your phones. You're going to get rid of everything. That's what a good agent would do. They know the ropes. My brother is a cop, a decorated cop. He could probably commit first-degree murder and know how to cover it up, as long as it's not one of us. But, you know, you get on enough crime scenes, you know what to do and what not to do. So, Brian, when he did finally gave an interview, he lied. He said that he never saw Kendrick that day and that he was on the other side of the building. There's camera footage which shows that's a lie. He stood right next to him. He was actually behind him a little. So Michael Moore, who was the DA, who was going to get justice, he resigned. Kendrick's case, all of Michael Moore's cases went to local area, his predecessor. Well, Kendrick's case went to the District of Ohio to get, clarification in case it was tainted. No charges were ever filed. But remember, they can only go on what's sent to them. So if clipped videos are sent to them, it's kind of like an appeal. If clipped videos are sent to them, they have no way to prove those videos are clipped. They can make an opinion on it. They can say it's possibly clipped, but there's no way that they can prove that it's clipped because they don't have the original. So they can only go by what they have. So I'm not surprised that charges weren't filed because I believe Dad over here covered his track really, really well. So if that's not tainted enough, in January of 2015, this happened January 2013, 7 different judges recused themselves from Kendrick's case, saying it's a conflict of interest. So in 2 years, you have a DA who resigns for no reason, a young DA resigned for no reason, and you have 7 different judges, 7 that recuse themselves due to conflict of interest. There's no conflict of interest where 7 judges would need to recuse themselves. His dad wasn't an attorney. It's not like an attorney who you got to face a judge. Judges don't even like to recuse themselves unless they're in danger or they feel like they're not going to be, amid the obvious. But yeah, so Kendrick's family are not giving up though. They're continually pushing forward no matter what stops them. So, welcome, my Lotus. I didn't even know you weren't. Hold on. Oh, so, where was I? Another thing they noticed is that originally the report said they had no defensive wounds, so he couldn't have had a fight. According to Anderson, he found scratches on his fingers, on his ring fingers that were on his left hand, and Dr. Anderson determined that this happened around the time of death and was consistent with fingernail marks. Which, again, scratching, trying to get out, someone's suffocating you. And I thought about this. If you're laying on your back and someone's suffocating you, you're going to scratch at them. You're going to try to stop and scratch at them. If he didn't have fibers under his nails, he didn't have the mat under his nails, he had what looked like fingernail marks, which could have been his own hand. I don't know, but that's what it said. So, he threatened Alright, we already know Brian lied. Okay. Yeah, Kendrick's not giving up, and they're continually pushed forward no matter what in order to get justice for their son. So that is the full investigation. I covered a bit of everything. That is the case. There's more forensic stuff. Yeah, I was going to say there's more forensic stuff that could be. CNN did some independent reports. Other people did some independent reports, but that is the overall of this case. All right, a forensic analyst enlisted by CNN found the tapes from 2 cameras are missing an hour and 5 minutes. Yeah, that's the 12 to 1 something. While another set were missing 2 hours and 10 minutes of footage. I'm telling you, I really believe in my heart of hearts. I do. I think that he wasn't killed at the gym. And if he was killed at the gym, it was after hours. But I think somehow the little boys club, the little white boys club got together, and maybe FBI agent had access to the school. Maybe he was able to get access to the school. But I keep coming back to a black kid showing up, a white athlete, even though Kendrick was an athlete, very good looking kid, looking at this man, like literally looking at him, I feel like he would be that type. A lot of witnesses say that he scared them. And sadly enough, to this day, no charges were ever filed. But I really do think that non-accidental blunt force trauma would be getting hit, stepping on your throat, holding your carotid sinus, carotid artery, any of those. That's non-accidental. Accidental blunt force trauma would be like you fell. That would be non-accidental. State attorney quit his job. 7 judges recused. This is so not right. So not right. He does have a smug look. But I do. I'm something in my gut hit me when I started looking at more evidence and more stories, and I was listening to a lot of different people. I really tend to think that he had that he left the school. Maybe they said, we'll give you a ride home. Come with us, we'll give you a ride home. But somehow I believe they made it back in the school. And that's why the school's not doing anything. Hey, pretty. Just something in my gut tells me he was not killed at the school. And there's no evidence he was killed at the school. There's no blood anywhere except on that gym mat. On that gym mat, there's blood. I also tend to think when they found the body, how fresh was the blood? Was the blood a couple of hours old? Was the blood brand new? Was the blood leaking? There's just so many things. But in my gut, in my heart of hearts, in my psychic ability, I see the father and Brian being involved. I do. That's who I see. I don't see the other kid. I do see Brian and his dad. And Brian's dad helped him get rid of that body. And they brought it into the school at whatever hours in the middle of the night, in the morning, I don't know. But the blood on the wall, but that wasn't Kendrick's. So they don't know whose it is. It could have been the kid he was fighting with, who brought into the school. It could have been the person that he had a fight with, that when they brought him into the mat and they threw him down, his blood from his arm may have hit the wall. There's a lot of things. No. Non-accidental blunt force trauma means that it wasn't an accident. It was forced. I'm almost positive I'm right. I'll look it up, but I'm almost positive I'm right. Non-accidental, meaning it was not an accident. It was forced. Blunt force trauma is not always caused by a second party. A driver hitting their head against the steering wheel during a car might result in a blunt force head trauma. Non-accidental, hold on. Non-accidental trauma is an important cause and should be suspected with certain presentations and injury patterns. Blunt impact to the body may result in a variety of injuries. Severity is related to both the mechanism of injury as well as the underlying comorbidities, of the patient. Blunt impact injuries generally can be classified into 4 categories: contusion, abrasion, laceration, and fracture. Blunt impact injuries are commonly seen in forensic autopsy practice. And that's it. I don't understand the blood just being upside down. Well, I would imagine, though, that if you are upside down, if you do hang upside down, eventually blood is going to come out. Maybe. So I can see that, but I don't think that's what happened. All I know is he didn't fall inside that mat. Exactly. He definitely did not. There was no way he fell. Sorry, not buying it. We don't need to look at this guy's ugly mug. I don't think it leaks. I don't know. Could it leak out of your nose, though? Like I can even justify his face being swollen from him being over. I can almost justify that. But, yeah, no. If it is deliberate, the death certificate should reflect an unnatural cause of death, murder, or suicide. Yes. I agree with you. How does your body... I don't know. I just thought maybe it comes out your nose, something. Some of the apparent lapses in coverage were found to result from camera systems that were not synchronized with one another. But why only during that particular time frame on that particular day? That's too coincidental to me. That all 4 of them stopped working. That's too coincidental. He wouldn't have blood on his face. Blood would leak out any open area, eyes, no. Thank you. That's what I thought. That if you're hanging upside down for the amount of hours that they said, you probably will. Why does the advocate say accidental? Because he suffocated. My 3 heels, don't confuse the original autopsy with the pathologist. The second pathologist, the independent one that the family hired, that's the one that said the non-accidental. The original said accidental. I think you may be confusing the two. Didn't think it through well, but they did because they got away with it. Surely there would be more. There was tons of blood on the mat. There was tons. But they never tested it. They never tested to see how old it was. There were so many ways they failed. They didn't do anything. Oh, this was definitely covered up. They ruled it an accident before an autopsy. They ruled it an accident immediately. They saw him in a mat and said, oh, it must be an accident. Yeah. So how come in the history of the mats, no kid, no other child, adult, or anybody, male or female, ever fell in? They got away with it so far. That they did. And Brian Bell and the girl that allegedly they were talking to are getting married in Hawaii, July of 2022. But the good news is that in a murder case, in a investigation, they never close. There's no statute of limitations. So him and his father could eventually go to jail. 7 judges, a conflict of interest. They did not explain. I was not able to find why. It's just when a judge recuses himself, sometimes they'll tell you, but they don't have to. They could just say conflict of interest, and we'll never know. But a lot of people believe it's because they were scared. It's scary. It is. Could they have wrestled on that mat, then wrapped him up? Possibly, but somebody would have seen it. The blood from Kendrick's body was on, I got a picture somewhere, but the blood was on, you know what, I could probably Google and find it pretty quick. All right. All right. Here's one. All right, little trigger warning. Actually, a big trigger warning. That's the blood that was around the mat. Now tell me why his arm, if he's upside down, why did his arm have all these cuts on him? Why did his arm have bruising on it? If he just fell in. It doesn't make sense. It just doesn't. And this is the blood that was on the mat. That's how they found it. It makes absolutely no sense. Because if you're hanging upside down and blood is leaking from you, your blood's not going to be like this. It's going to be more on the inside than on the outside. And notice it's on the second loop as well. It's crazy. So there's no way. It is a huge cover-up. There's just no way. You wrestle without shoes on. Yes. But again, now think about this. Let me show this again so I can explain it. Think about this. So you have all this blood that's on the bottom of the mat that you allegedly put your hand in to grab your sneakers, even though it's longer than you are, but to put your hand in, and your sneakers that were in there that are allegedly at the bottom of the mat, which would be where all that blood is, there's nothing. There's no blood on the sneakers. Make that make sense. Think about it. It's absolutely impossible. And again, why all the cuts? Why does he have all these cuts on his arms? Hey, Gina. Thank you. Welcome. It couldn't have been because of him trying to wiggle out. Nope. Because again, and I used this example the other day, try to put a square, try to put a triangle into a square hole. If the square is big enough, it will fall in. And there's nothing you can do, but once it falls in, you can also get it back out. If the square is too small, it's impossible to fall in. So if you do fall in, you're not going to be able to get back out because you're never going to fall in deep down far enough where you'd have all this blood. Now, mind you, there's no blood going down the sides. There's no blood on the inside of the mats as far as like streaming blood, like it was coming out. It was only at the bottom, and there's nothing on his sneaker. It's impossible. Cuts from defensive wounds is a good possibility. But it would be physically impossible to have all this blood running. It's around the bottom of the mat, but yet there's no blood on the mat. Okay, that makes sense. I mean, there's no blood on the sneakers. That makes sense. It's impossible. Physically impossible. And here's his sneaker, his alleged gym sneaker. His gym sneaker that had blood all over it wasn't found in the mat, or it was thrown on top or the bottom. I don't remember. I think these were found on the side. And those were his, and there was blood all over it. How is that even possible? How do you have blood all over a sneaker that he may or may not have been wearing, but if he's hanging upside down, you wouldn't have blood on it? It just, none of it makes sense. Blood and fluids will leak out of all places during and after lividity. Okay. But it wouldn't leak on the mat. The mat's not bleeding. And if it does leak out, what are the odds that it wouldn't hit a sneaker that were supposedly under his head? That would be impossible. Absolutely fucking impossible. There's no amount of logic or science that can prove to me that it's such a small space. 3/4 of the mat have blood on it for 2 layers of blood. But his sneakers that he was reaching for that would have been below him, that he would have dripped blood on, have nothing. Prove me wrong. Prove to me how that's possible, because it's not. It's physically impossible. It defies all science. It defies all logic. And then when they pulled it down, when they pulled the mat down or whatever, the sneakers allegedly fell like to his feet. Like they weren't in his head. It was like they were thrown in. Make that make sense. Yeah. And not on the shoes in this case. Yeah, no. No, the one sneaker had blood that was outside of the thing, and it wasn't his blood. I'm talking the sneakers that he allegedly went for that caused the whole thing. The white sneakers were jammed up in the mat by his legs. Okay. And not 1 ounce of blood on it. But 3/4 of the mat had blood on it. The case was just closed again a couple of days ago. They had reopened it, and now they closed it again. The sheriff's department, 2 days ago, released a statement that he is going to give $500,000 of his own money. I guess sheriffs there make plenty of money. That he's going to give, he's offering a reward of $500,000 for anybody that comes forward with real evidence, but they will not remain anonymous. They will be fully interrogated, and they will not be anonymous. And that is how they will, that's what he's doing to help the case. I don't know why somebody couldn't remain anonymous. But yeah, $500,000 he's offering out of his own money. The family finally got it reopened in March of 2021, and then it was closed again. just a couple of days ago. I agree the story makes no sense. How do you get away with murder? Have a dad in the FBI. And make it 2013. You know, this is a town, like I was explaining, this is a very, very racial kind of town. Big, known for slavery, known for one of the worst lynchings that ever happened in American history. That was this Mary Turner. Her husband was lynched by the white people of this exact town. And they went to lynch her. They hung her. They cut out her baby. She was 8.5 months pregnant. They cut out her baby. And the baby fell to the floor. She was alive, by the way. The baby fell to the floor, and the white people stomped the baby's head and then lynched the mom. That was probably the worst lynching ever in American history, and that happened in this town. This town is more majority black, but it's run by white. It is very highly white boys' town, and they make the rules. Blacks are, you know, always stopped, like this stereotypical, you don't want to be a black man in this town, but it's where they grew up, it's where they lived, and they say the white man rules it, even though they are the minority. And that's where we are. Hey, Nikki. It's very sad. The missing footage most likely shows him leaving. Thank you. That is what hit me like a ton of bricks. He did not die in that gym. I am absolutely convinced he did not die in that gym. And like I said, I haven't heard anybody talk about this. I am convinced of this. How did they find his shop? If it was under him in the mat, was it? Oh, his shoe. There were 2 shoes outside and there was 1 shoe inside. A pair of shoes that were thrown in and then another pair that I believe were out of the mat. And I'm telling you, to come up with a theory, you have to have a motive. And my motive is that. My motive is that the father was not going to allow this guy, a black kid, to show up his son. And this is where it happened. And maybe, just maybe, they were in a fair fight and Kendrick beat him again. And that's what they weren't happening, is he wasn't going to be embarrassed. I want to know his access to the cameras too, but then again, FBI can get access to anything. You're an FBI agent, you can get access to anything. All you have to do is put in a warrant, or because the FBI was originally the ones that looked into the case. They were, I believe he was called to the school. The sheriff's department, who, works with the FBI, local FBI agent in town. I'm telling you, I agree, I am thoroughly convinced that, again, I got to look more into it, but my gut instinct tells me that he was not killed at that school. That happened overnight, that happened after the fact, that happened in the morning, that happened some point. But he was not killed at that school. He was killed off campus and brought back to the school. No way he died in that gym. I agree. No, the newspapers have recently started writing about it because the case was open and closed again. That father, his 2 sons were named. His one son is the one that had a fight with Kendrick. Yeah, there's no way sheriff makes that much money. Sorry. They just don't. Do I think it'll be resolved? Maybe if they take a different angle. Maybe if they think about it and really take a different angle. I will give my, theory and see if his family had ever heard this theory before. Is it something, now all my haters are going to run and call them because that's what they do. But I really think that I don't even know if it's ever been investigated, but I absolutely believe that he wasn't killed at school. And, then it opens up possibilities. Well, where else could he have been killed? That I don't know. I don't know the area. I don't know where he could have been, but no other area was looked at. Were there anywhere possible. But what really stuck out to me is the choreatic whatever, sinus, because that is a wrestling thing. They teach you that in wrestling. Brian and Brendan were wrestlers. That is when I was like, and I know they're not the only wrestlers on the team. And my gut tells me Brendan wasn't involved, which is his brother. I come back to, I really believe that Brian did this and his father's involved. I know haters need to mind their own business, but as soon as I said it, I'm like, here they go. My obsessed stalkers are going to contact them. It's happened one too many times. I don't know Dorothy Killigan. The name is familiar, but I'm not 100% positive. I hope this family gets justice too. And like I said, maybe everybody's looking the wrong way. Maybe everybody's taking the wrong angle. Maybe everybody's take the angle that they weren't there. On the flip side, if the cameras weren't working and there's no cameras, how are you going to prove it? Don't know. So reminding me of the Emmett. That's also, the Emmett Till case is another one. For those of you guys that don't know, Emmett Till is another famous case in our U.S. history. And Emmett Till, someone said that she was raped and she was sexually assaulted by this black man. And these two guys killed him. And they got away with it. If I remember correctly, they killed him and he got away with it. And they brutally beat him. Brutally. And the woman, his wife or his mom, I forgot which one, made it an open casket so everybody can see what was done to him. And it is a horrible case. Hold on. Okay. So this is what Emmett Till, this is what, you guys can see it, hold on. This is what Emmett Till looked like before death and after death. Because it's small. Hold on. That's what he looked like before and after. And the mother or the wife wanted an open casket, so everybody can see what these men did to his face. Yeah. So the guys get away with it. White guys totally got away with it. 60 years later, I don't know if she was on her deathbed or what. He was 14, so it would have been his mom. Okay. 60 years later, she comes out and says it was untrue. She lied the whole time. Yeah. Yeah, it was his mom. I just couldn't remember. Yeah, that she lied the whole time. And these guys beat the living shit out of this kid. And it was all a lie. But that was our history. Unfortunately. Yeah, this was our American history that a lot of people don't really know. I didn't know a lot of it. And I've been learning a lot quickly. The unknown blood must be tested to Brian to go any further. Something's got to happen, but they didn't collect it. You can't do anything if they didn't collect the blood. They have no samples of it. That's why everybody's hands are tied. The District of Ohio, any judge, you can't do anything if they don't have the evidence. I tell people this when it comes to appeals all the time. If you're in appeal, if you're fighting an appeal, you're doing an appeal, everybody thinks an appeal is like a new court date. No, an appeal takes the testimony from court. If you forgot something in court, it's not going to be heard by an appeal unless there's oral arguments and unless there's some overwhelming mountain of evidence that wasn't originally in. Then you file a motion, you tell them what it is, they don't have to hear it. It's a whole process, but everyone thinks you get an appeal, it's a new court date. No, they can only go on the transcript of court. That's it, unless you have an oral argument, which is 10 minutes. So if a original court is tainted, the appeals, you're not going to win. They're not going to do anything unless you have hardcore evidence. Same thing here. Doesn't matter how many places it was transferred to. If the evidence is tainted to begin with, everyone's going to come to the same conclusion. There's nothing we can do. And that's where I think it's at. Thanks for taking on this case. Should be much. I totally agree. And, you know, even looking at YouTubers covering the case, it's not a big case. Like, a lot of people have not covered it. If they have covered it, people would usually get really big numbers, have no numbers on it, which I attribute to it's a black male. And it's an older case. And black people in society generally do not get the same as white people. And it's sad, but this case really hit me. And I was like, I don't care if I have 20 people listening. I really want to take the time and investigate in this case. So that's where we're at. And I've did it. I knew a very smart young man who was a lawyer. He was just too honest and too nice to make it big. He had high ambitions. There has to be a sample. No, they did not take any samples. They did not bag the t-shirt. They did not bag the shoe. As soon as it turned out that it wasn't his blood that they tested on site, they got rid of it. They never took it into the crime lab. They never took it in for testing. They never took it anywhere. It was investigated outside. That's what I was saying, it was investigated by the feds and the federal marshals and all that. But again, they only have the evidence. I'm just talking the hardcore evidence. They only have the evidence that was presented to them. And again, there's not even organs to look at. They made sure they covered that too. That they can't even inspect the organs. They can't look at the brain, function. They can't look at the lungs. They got rid of all the organs. They can't see anything. So that's the other problem. So it doesn't matter how many people look at the case. If there's no evidence to investigate it, they're screwed. There's nothing they can do. Just sweep it under the rug. That's all they can do, unfortunately. Meanwhile, there was outrage that Brian was kicked out of his football school. Yes, 2015, Brian Bell lost his football scholarship to, I forgot where, a very good school in Florida. But he lost his football scholarship, and there was such an outrage over it because he was falsely accused, blah, 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 blah. And the school pulled his scholarship. There was more outrage over that than Kendrick's death. Circumstantial, yeah, but there was so much confession. There was, they said that there was confession. That's how Brian and Brandon were originally named. I'm sorry, somebody knows. Somebody knows what happened. And hopefully the parents never give up. Yeah, he lost the football scholarship when all the heat was around him. Another problem is there are creators that talk about the problem with people not talking about cases involving POC are the same people that won't even talk about these cases. What's POC? Call me dumb. I had a brain fart. What's POC? Just shoveling. Oh, I'm sorry. It's raining here, if that makes you feel any better. Oh, people of color. Why wouldn't they talk about cases of people of color? Lindsay, it's because I'm not hip like you. Family deserves for truth to come to light. They deserve justice. I don't think it's even possible. I just don't think it's possible because the evidence has been tainted. They covered every single track. They crossed every T. They dotted every I. And I just don't think it's possible that they're going to get justice. I don't. And you would need hardcore confessions. That would get justice. Or you would need something to prove that it was this particular person, which even if someone came forward and said, I did it, prove it. You got to prove that someone said they did it. You got to, well, how did you do it? Where did it happen? And the evidence has to match. And if it's a white kid, I can assure you, they're not going to do anything. They're going to say, keep it under wraps. Yeah, I don't see him getting justice. I really believe it's unfortunately, I think it may be a losing cause. I do. That God will give Kendrick some justice. I hope that he does get it. But I would not want to be in his parents' position. I wouldn't. I think his parents have handled this beautifully. They've handled this with grace. They've handled this as best as they can. Because they don't get views. So they go back to covering a case that will bring numbers. Yeah, there are certain cases in true crime that it's a passion thing for me. I don't care if I have numbers. I don't care if I have 20 people. As long as I have some people listening that share that same passion for a case, that's all I care about. I mean, I wouldn't want to talk to nobody. He's getting married July of 2022. Yes, they have. Well said. I'm looking at this. It's beautiful. Yeah, he's a good-looking kid. If he gets married and tells his wife, and she will keep it a secret until... Well, his wife is the one that allegedly talked to Kendrick. Now, according to the police, but the police are shady as fuck, but according to the police, Kendrick had no record of her on the phone, and that it was just a rumor, a speculative rumor. So we don't know if that's true or not, but phone records show they never talked. They never talked on the phone. But that his phone records could have been erased too. You know, they could have talked at school. They could have done something, but, you know, think about it. That was the other thing, though. Think about it. You're white, football-bound, scholarship-bound child, star athlete, football wrestler, is dating this girl, this black kid, in an already racial area, this black kid made you look stupid in front of a whole team, and the rumor is trying to get your girl, and your girl's talking to him. What do you think's going to happen? And now Brian is marrying this girl. That's too much coincidence for me. It really does. It's too much coincidence. I really strongly believe that the father's involved. And her ex-cop co-host covered this, but they said that the film from the school was investigated by several agencies and none could find issues with the metadata. CNN did a private investigation. A couple of people did a private investigation. And to know that on that, Brian had motive. On that day, and no other day, but on that day, all films stopped between 12 and 1. Sorry. Nope. Not buying it. Not buying it. Not for 1 second. Not for nothing. Nope. Not happening. If the camera shut down every day at 12, that's one thing. But no. Sorry. Some will most likely go wrong in a marriage. Once a bully, always a bully. I don't know if he was a bully per se, but talented, ambitious, I agree. And the fact that he's still with her is a little sketchy to me. I don't know why, it just is. I mean, I know a lot of people stay together after high school, but I don't know. I just feel like this girl, Taylor, the girl that was the center of all of this controversy, and most likely the cause of her death. Why do you think the older brother? Because it was proven the older brother was at a wrestling match an hour away. That was proven. So my gut tells me it was Brian, his dad, and maybe someone else, but I don't think so. I think they kept it in the family. Holding something over her head, possibly. Or Brian and him had a fight by himself. Brian killed him and called his dad to come cover it up. That's possible too. 4 cameras. All 4 of them out between 12 and 1. Just on that day. Hang on, I gotta let the dog in. I didn't know it was raining out. Poor Buka just got soaked. You hear him? He's trying to get off. Max, 13 years, was shot. His new drunk girlfriend, the only witness. It was a huge cover-up in June by the sheriff's department. They said suicide, but it was not. Wow. Oh. Poor Buki. What? Poor Buki got all wet. He got all wet. What? This is my little munchkin. Oh. The dad did threaten people's lives. He did. He actually tracked this one girl, waited outside her work. They said it was all nonverbal threats, that they didn't do it. He didn't physically interrogate them or scare them, but he did it non-verbally. Why would the parents do that? Why would the father do that? What was he so afraid of? I know, poor Boogie's wet. You're all wet. He's mad at me now. He's soaked. I wiped him down with the towel. Oh. All I know about cover-ups, I fought for 9 years and got nowhere. I'm telling you, you can't cover it up. It's so hard to prove a cover-up. Oof. We got to give you a haircut and a bath and a new shirt. So, all right, I'm going to shut down. He is a bundle of fur. He needs a haircut bad. Right? Right? He loves me, though. He loves me. He doesn't like the rain. Say hi, everyone. Say, Mommy needs to give me a haircut. Oh. Oh. He is a little fur baby. So, all right, I'm going to shut down, though. I need to get my nails done, and I'm waiting for a package, and I don't want to go anywhere because I don't want the package getting wet because some candle stuff. So, there's that. But I hope you guys enjoy this. I apologize for last night. I was exhausted, and I was like, I can't go live. I got caught up with my kids and doing something with Dayton. I didn't know my son was a writer, and my son is a writer. I learned this last night. A really good one at that. So I think he has a future. So again, I hope you guys enjoyed it. I will talk about this case more, but I mean, I've covered all the facts. I've gave you guys my theory. I don't know much more I can cover on it that hasn't been covered already, like that I haven't talked about already. So on that, I will see you guys later. Have a wonderful day. I probably won't be around tonight because as long as my candle stuff gets here, I'm going to be making candles. For those of you on my email list for candles, I'm going to be sending you guys out a special tonight. And you guys get it first. Anyone on this mailing list gets it first. And then I'm going to release general public on Friday. Patreons. Someone asked me and I forgot. You guys actually get a discount. Patreons get 25% off all candles. I'm sorry, I keep forgetting. And I'll post the link for it, the coupon in Patreon. Members, you also get 15% off. So I will talk about that later because I really got to go. But I will talk about that later. And yeah, so if you're a members, a little harder to track, but all I have to do is double check your screen name if you tell me your screen name. And Patreons, you can't combine the coupons like for 35% off. Sorry guys, you can only use one coupon. But Patreons, yeah, you guys get 25% off. I completely forgot until someone asked me. So I apologize. But I will see you guys later. Have a wonderful night and peace out.